We're going to talk a little bit about ratios now. A ratio is a comparison of two things that have the same units. So you won't see the units involved. But I'd like to go back just over to the side, talk about something. Ooh, that is terrible writing. Talk about something that we are more familiar with than ratios would be rates, right? And we've all used rates. Let's say we're driving in a car, someone else is driving, and we're doing 60 kilometers per hour, okay? And that's a rate. We're comparing one unit, kilometers, to another unit, hours, 60 kilometers an hour. This slash really is a division bar, 60 kilometers over 1 hour, okay? And we've all seen that for a rate, or maybe your heart beats at 74 beats per minute. We've seen that for a rate as well. Ratios is similar, but we're not dealing with units because we're comparing two things of the same quantity. So as you saw on the slide, you'll see it written often like this. I don't know, I'll use 3/7. It's a little different than the slide. You'll see it written like that. And this colon is used for ratios, right? You may also see it written as like 3:7. That's less common. But what they're talking about is a ratio, and they're comparing two things that are the same, so there's no units. Okay? So maybe you're comparing wind speed in one city versus wind speed in another city. Okay? Or maybe you're comparing a percentage of water in one bottle of juice compared to another bottle of juice, right? The units are the same. What is the very useful way, or what is a very useful way to write a ratio? And I know a lot of us are really not all that excited about fractions, but for math, writing ratios as a fraction is the most useful, because when we get into proportion, we're going to need to see it this way. So a ratio is just a comparison of two things, but the most useful way to write it is to write it this way. Okay, a couple of things. Okay? Ratios are usually written in lowest terms, and at the end are not written with decimals. So let's carry on. I'll give you a quick example here. Get rid of the rates, mainly because we're talking about ratios. Okay. So if I have something like this, let's say I have this 12 point, doesn't matter, 6, right? And we're talking about, let's use the wind speed. So this is the Chicago wind speed. And here's the Toronto wind speed. Okay? For those of you in our area, Chicago and Toronto, even though one's in the US and one's in Canada, are generally east-west of each other. They're not really that north and south. They're mainly east-west. So if I wanted to write this as a ratio in lowest terms, what I do is I'd write it as a fraction. And then I'd realize, well, this doesn't work with decimals in it. So they both have one decimal. So if I multiply by 10, okay, I can get rid of the decimal. Okay? So this is how you get it into a whole number. I just did times 10 over 10. That times sign should go in the middle here. Times 10 over 10 to get rid of the decimal. And then I can reduce it to lowest terms. I can say, well, hold on. 104, I can put 2 in there. That's 52. 126, I can divide by 2, and that's 63. And my ratio in lowest terms would be 52 to 63. One little aside, if you're using your calculator with the fraction button, right, instead of having to figure out, oh, it divides by 2, does it divide by any more than 2? Okay, you can simply do this reduction, okay, by putting 104, then the fraction button, then 126, then press equals on your calculator, and you will come up with something that looks like this on most calculators. Right? 52 52 with a little funky backwards L, and that means 52 over 63. So your calculator can really speed it up for you. Lots of little pieces there. The main takeaway, ratios are best written as a fraction and should always be written in lowest terms. They don't have units because they compare two things that are the same. For example, wind speed. Okay, and there's a lot more in the next slides to introduce you to them.